Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Thought for Leaders, an initiative by Thoughts on Education by Collegedunia.com. Today, we have with us Dr. Dheeraj Sanghi, the Director of Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Welcome to the show, sir. I would start off with a brief introduction of yours. Dr. Sanghi did his BTech from IIT Kanpur and completed his MS and PhD from University of Maryland. He began his academic career with IIT Kanpur as a professor and has henceforth been involved with IIT Gandhinagar, IIT Bombay and Ashoka universities in academics. He has also served as the director of LNMIT Jaipur, Dean Academic Affairs for IIT Delhi, Dean Academic Affairs for IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, and the list is endless. Welcome to the show, sir. And how are you today?
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm really doing fine. Very excited to be here.
Great. So, sir, I'll skip ahead to the first question now.
Yes.
You have held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector?
Well, I think the most important factor that keeps me connected with education is that education is all I know. If I had started doing a job in some other area, I would have been a failure. So I think we all should work in the areas of our passion and strength. But I think more importantly, it gives me a sense of achievement when I see that something I said, something I did, something I suggested has improved some aspect of education somewhere. It has touched a life somewhere. And that keeps me going on. I believe that there are far too many low-hanging fruits in Indian academia, that very minor changes can lead to good quality improvement, and I try to do that.
Great. So, sir, being the director of Punjab Engineering College, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
Very difficult question. I think we need to let others do the work, right? And you should only be kind of guiding things and also be ready for any eventuality. So, for example, when we had this COVID stuff, right, in March, I think the way Punjab Engineering College has handled COVID is probably the best in this country. So we were, while everybody was talking about when will we go into lockdown, we already had set up a committee to look at distance education or online education, right? And so the moment we had to close our college, within a couple of days we were able to announce online classes, right? So the idea is that you should always be looking at what are the possible future scenarios and be ready for all of those scenarios. I mean, you may plan for the most, the scenario which is most likely to happen, but you should also have plans that if that doesn't happen, some other scenario happens, then how are you going to change your plans and adjust to this new reality? So we were amongst the first one to graduate students. We were amongst the first one to announce the next semester on being online because we were continuously looking at what the rest of the world is doing and what are the different scenarios that we should be, looking at. And you strengthen or enable young people, so if you look at our committee of online education, they're all young people. They are the ones who are taking calls on how should this happen. So just, enable young people. That's really the motto.
Great, sir, great. So that's the best part of being an academician. You knew my next question before I even asked you that, right? So you answered the question of what are your roles and responsibilities to the college as well. What do you think should be Punjab Engineering College's top priority over the next 10 years?
So I think if you look at any good university, it has two main tasks. One is knowledge creation and the other is knowledge dissemination. And therefore, these two have to be priorities for us as well if we want to be counted among the top universities in India. So focus on research, which is what knowledge creation means, which is our little bit weak point right now, and academic programs. We should be starting new academic programs which are more relevant to the society today and in the coming years. For example, we should definitely think about a deeper dive into artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, robotics, Also the program which can help us in achieving SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, like renewable energy, electric vehicles, battery technology, environment. So I think we should think about both research as well as new programs. Considering these things, where does India stand today? What does India need in near future? And this SDGs or sustainable goals. Keeping all this in mind, we should plan the next 10 years.
Great, sir. Great. Sir, when you first came to Punjab Engineering College, what was your vision for the university? Has it evolved over time, or how far are you along implementing the vision for you?
Okay. Vision, these are very big words. So, I think anybody who is taking up a leadership role in a historically important institute like PEC has to have a vision that we must be counted in the galaxy of academic institutions in the country. And indeed, if you look at our past, 50s and 60s and maybe 70s, PEC was really counted along with IITs, and well, in 50s we were the only ones, but in 60s when IITs were there, we were counted as equivalent to IITs. In 70s also we maintained that kind of ranking or perception in the community, but somehow that has reduced over the last few decades. So we need to make sure that we go back to what I would think is the place that we really own and deserve. So I think you said whether it has changed and so on. That cannot change. See, vision is not something that you change every now and then. Vision is something that you keep focus on for a very long period of time, and 1.5 years is not a long period of time. So the vision remains the same. I want PEC to see among the top institutions, right? And I think we have made small changes, small movement towards excellence. I think we are getting a little bit more attention from the academic world today than what we did 2 years ago. But these are very, very slow processes. What has changed on the ground is probably not even 2-3% or 5% of what we need to do. We have a very long way to go. I think we need to hire a lot of fresh faculty. We need a lot of investment in our infrastructure. We need our alumni to support us. We need new curriculum. A lot of things we need to do, and we have done a little bit. Some baby steps have been taken. Hopefully, we will keep taking those baby steps and even bigger steps and be there one day.
Great, sir. Great. Talking about the infrastructure and the improvements to be made in the college, how do you establish a healthy relation and environment in your institute as of now?
I think communication is really the key to maintaining healthy relation and good environment in any place, right? If everybody knows how decisions are being taken, the decisions are communicated to them, then there is less suspicion about each other, less feeling that maybe these decisions will hurt me in some ways. So I tend to write a lot of emails to students, etc. I'm also pretty active on social media. Even as an institution, we are getting active with both social media and print media. So I think a lot of our stakeholders know where we are going, what to expect in 6 months, 1 year, and so on. And this results in building trust, and people come forward to tell you the problems. And when we know the problems, it's easier to solve them. If we keep hearing things, through a grapevine, we cannot really know, are we getting the right picture? Okay. But once there is a trust, once people can walk into your office and say, this is what's happening, then you know the right picture, and therefore you try to solve them. We are also trying to involve students in our decision making, including at the highest level. We have academic senate, which takes all academic decisions. We are inviting students even to senate meetings now. So we can understand their viewpoint, they can understand our constraints, and therefore students feel happier about decisions. For example, this time in July, a lot of people wrote me emails about fee hike, or not fee hike, but they're having difficulties in paying the fees, right? What was interesting about these emails was they were not saying that they personally have a problem in paying fees. They were generally saying there is COVID, there is economic problem in the country, and a lot of people would be facing economic issues, and therefore there should be a decision to reduce fees for everybody. That's the kind of argument that was being made. And I wouldn't say it's a wrong argument or something, but we had serious financial difficulties of our own because the government is diverting all the funds to public health, like the most emergent situation, and that needs to be handled. And therefore, our budget has been cut, and there was no way we could have reduced, the tuition. So I sent an email to all the students and said, look, this is my situation. My budget has been cut 30%. I'm not going to be able to pay salaries of everybody very soon. We are going to ask people to leave PEC. In this situation, there is no way I can reduce your fees. But what I can do is, if you genuinely have a difficulty personally in paying fees, let me know. I'm going to ask alumni to come forward and give some donations to take care of your fees, right? And, suddenly the environment changes. Previously, there was a lot of this thing, the kind of emails that I don't want to show them to anybody, but they were like, are you having no heart in your body, and you are really, cunts, and references to all kinds of things. And suddenly the whole environment changes, and they said, even some people wrote me very heartwarming mail saying, look, my father is a laborer and he really doesn't have money, but I think I am still not the poorest in the department or in the institute. I will somehow take loan and pay the fees this time, but if I'm not able to do that next semester, can you give me fee waiver, right? So there are people who are coming forward. There are a couple of students who said, our parents have not been hit by COVID. Can I do more than my tuition? Can I give another 20,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees to support my colleagues? So the communication, as I said, is really the key to build these healthy relationships and environment. Once you explain your problems, people understand, and people come up with solutions.
Right, sir, right. And I also believe that PEC as a community has evolved over time since you have joined as well, and I've seen that personally as well. So, and I would like to ask you, sir, what are your plans for the college regarding international affairs or the relations with the industry experts?
Okay. So I think international affairs, as of today, what we are saying is we are not going to be signing MOUs unless the other party insists on it. I think a lot of colleges around the country, they sign large number of MOUs which are only mentioned on their webpage, and they're really not resulting in any interaction. So our take is, look, if the other party really needs to sign an MOU before we can interact, we'll sign an MOU. We're not against MOUs. But we want to empower our students and our faculty to be able to interact with anybody in the world, right? So we already allow our students spending a semester abroad, both for an internship. There is a compulsory 6-semester internship where they can spend 6 months in any other organization, as well as for doing coursework, and we will give you credit for those courses in PEC. And many students are actually doing that. In fact, I didn't realize how many students are these till this COVID happened, and we started getting emails from all these students from all over the world saying, sir, can you somehow figure out how do I reach India? And we had to then follow the embassies, we had to take help from government here, the government in Delhi, and try to make sure that they can get on to the evacuation flights and stuff. So the number of people that are already going abroad for these universities and organizations is fairly decent. I think this time in a batch of about 650, at least 10% people were abroad in the batch. But of course we need to continuously improve upon that. And in the new program that I talked about in answer to an earlier question, we are thinking of involving foreign universities, etc. Because I think in the new program, it will be very difficult for us to suddenly start a program with hiring faculty and everything. So can we have a program have joint degrees, or at least have a program where a semester can be spent in those universities and we transfer credits. Those are the things that we are really going to look at.
Especially, sir, with the new education policy coming into force soon,
Yes.
I think these measures would especially be beneficial to that. Sir, what do you think the higher education challenges were before, and how has it evolved now since the new education policy?
See, the policy has not changed much. So I'll tell you what I think are the biggest challenges in higher education. I think we have too little autonomy, which is somewhat linked with the regulatory environment that we have in terms of UGC, in terms of AICT, for engineering, in terms of accreditation and BA or NAC. So that I think is one of the significant challenge. While I can understand, why government wants to control everything. So, for example, one of the major issues in autonomy is how much tuition you can charge, and that's primarily from the perspective of a private college. So, government really wants that these colleges be accessible to poor or lower middle class, right? But then, what is not very easily understood is that at the tuition that that they are allowed to charge, they cannot provide high quality education, because if I just look at, can that tuition even pay for high quality faculty? It cannot. And there are other expenses in the university. There is land, there is building, there is electricity, there is staff, there is labs, and so on and so forth, right? So I think autonomy is really the key. Next is governance models. Governance models means, and this is more applicable to government sector. The way you structure your board, the way you structure, the deans and how do you select deans and heads. This is also problematic. For example, in many government institutions, the headship is through seniority. There is absolutely no merit-based thing. And the assumption government always makes is that everybody is equal. Now, this is a complete farce, right? I mean, if I look at faculty here at PEC, in any department, there will be some faculty members who are good at research, there are some faculty members who are good at teaching, there are some faculty members who are good at something else like administration or leadership. So to say that everybody is equal is, I think, absolutely a stupid statement to make. But that's what everybody says, and that's how you decide the heads. Now, a head who is a good researcher but not a good leader is going to destroy the department in 3 years that he's going to be head. So I think governance is really what causes problems in the government side. If I look at PEC, for example, and the autonomy and governance models combined, so we are autonomous in some sense, right? What does that mean? That academically we are completely autonomous. We can create any new program. If I want to start a program on renewable energy today, I can do that, right? However, I do not have the autonomy to hire a faculty. Right? Now, if I don't have autonomy to hire a faculty, then how can I start a new program? So, the way this government works is, you have complete autonomy. You can start whatever you want. And the only thing that we control is these jobs and, right? Well, that's the most important thing. You shouldn't be controlling those things, right? So, I think the other problem in regulatory environment in India is, I think the regulators are completely confused. Sometimes the letters that they write, sometimes they will say these are regulations, sometimes they will say these are guidelines. Guidelines, in the word guidelines to me means that these are something that I can choose to ignore if I can do better than that. But sometimes they will come back and say, oh, you're not following the guidelines. What does it mean to not follow the guidelines? They are guidelines to begin with, right? So what happens is many colleges, they will look at any letter from UGC and say, this is what we need to do. And while UGC may say at times that this is the minimum that you need to do, because you can always do better quality, we are only specifying the minimum quality, we are specifying what the worst university in the country ought to do. The better ones who can potentially be better ones, they will argue that, oh, this is UGC guideline, I should do this. So there is a race to the bottom. And I see some of that even in PEC, unfortunately. I mean, there will be faculty members who would argue, this is the UGC guideline, we must follow it. And I'm like, no, we should do better than this. They say, no, this is all that we need to follow, right? So I think our regulatory structure should understand that whatever they say is taken very seriously by everybody, and therefore they could use different terminology. For example, instead of saying guidelines, they can say best practices, right? Uh, so therefore, it is even more clear that this is not something that is imposed on you, or this is not the only thing you can do. You can do other things as well. So these are the challenges that we face in India. Primarily autonomy, regulatory, governance models, and of course, to some extent, finance is an issue. There is not enough investment in higher education. It is not clear how the NEP is going to affect all this. Of course, they use these terms very liberally throughout, that we will give more autonomy, regulatory structures will change from multiple organizations to organization. But whether they're going to make any difference on the ground, we will have to see, in future what happens.
Right. So, sir, another quick question. So, how is PEC connected with its and alumni network going forward?
So, sorry, again, your voice was cracking. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now it's fine? Yes. So, sir, how is PEC connected with its alumni, specifically those involved directly in the industry or directly inside corporate industries, to be specific? And how do you plan to more enhance that?
So I think our connectivity with alumni has improved tremendously in the last 1 year. So previously, our connectivity was primarily through alumni association. We had a dean's office we have had a dean's office for last, I think, 6-7 years. But if you look at donations, for example, from the alumni, they will all come through the alumni association. If we want to reach out to somebody, the database was with the alumni association. And really, there was nothing that PEC was doing on its own. The connectivity with the alumni was very poor. Now we have taken a decision last year. We said that there will be direct connect between institute and the alumni. So the database is being created at the institute. We now have a fairly large database. In fact, now we have a larger database than the Alumni Association itself. We have created a portal where you can register, you can see your friends, where you can get information about your colleagues and others and so on. That portal can be used for anybody to connect with the institute. So, for example, you can come to the portal and say, "Hey, I want to give a webinar to the students, and I'm working in this field," and so on and so forth. And we will connect you with the right department, with the right kind of students, and so on. So, in fact, webinar series is something that's going on during the COVID time. You can come to the portal and say, "Hey, I'm working in this company, and I want to help you with placement," and we will put you in touch with our placement office, and we'll really appreciate if that happens, right? So I think this portal is something that we soft launched in March, and as I said, it already has about 15,000 addresses. I also write occasionally to all alumni. Of course, we continue to deal with Alumni Association. Currently, they are going through some legal issues, but as soon as those issues are resolved, we will definitely like to work with them or anybody else. Anybody has any idea about how to help PEC, we would be happy to work with them. We had the first global alumni meet in US last year in October in Houston. A team had gone from PEC for that meet. We have got our FCRA clearance and FCRA account so that foreign donations can be received. So I think in the last 1 year we have done a lot of things. In fact, if I just look at monetary gifts, in the last 1 month, we have received something like 50 lakh rupees, which is probably the highest ever we have received in 1 month from alumni. In fact, I don't think we have ever received more than 10-20 lakhs in a year. So this is like 50 lakhs in a month. So that's the kind of relationship that we have. People feel very comfortable in helping us out when we need that help. Again, your voice is
now move on.
Pranav, your voice is getting cut.
Now you can hear me, sir?
No, and your video is also frozen.
Just a sec, sir. Now am I audible,
now
sir?
it's okay.
Sir, this has been very informative, and now I would like to move to the last question. This is just, I just wanted to personally get your opinion on this as well. Any suggestions you would like to give to the current youth, to the aspiring students, and to the outgoing batch of 2020?
Okay. Advice. It's easy to give advice. I don't know. Right. There are two things that I have often been saying to our students, and I'm sure you would have heard me say that. You should have high aspirations. Okay. I think a lot of people get demotivated for very trivial things. And, a lot of people I talk to, a lot of students I talk to, and I say, what do you want to do? And they say, I want a job at the end of 4 years. Right? Now you think about how this whole business is in terms of admissions. So if we look at students in PEC, they were in the top 1% of India. Okay? So we have about 2.5 crore babies in a year. And all the students who are coming to PEC are certainly in the top 2.5 lakhs from any consideration. Right? So if you are in top 1% of a large nation, should your aspirations be, I'll get a job? No. Your aspiration should be that because of me, this country is going to go to places. I'm going to change the society. I'm going to change the world. Right? If you think anything less than that, that's unfortunate. Right? That's just too low. Okay? So that's one thing I'll tell people. You just because you got 5 marks less in JEE and you're not in IIT or in PEC or in NIT or the tier 2 institutions, right? It doesn't mean anything. You are still in the top 1% of the country, and you got to think very, very big. The second thing I will say is take your education in your own hands. Okay, you cannot, the college is there only to give you some structure. Okay, we are not going to be able to do justice with the kind of students we are getting in. Right, we are not going to have so many faculty, the quality of faculty, the quality of labs, and so on and so forth. Right, and today it's very easy to kind of take your education in your hands. There is so much of free resources available all over the place. Try learning on your own, and maybe you can form study groups within your batchmates and learn things on your own. And remember, whatever college will teach you, any college will teach you, will be outdated very soon. And therefore, for lifelong, you have to learn on your own. Why not start that practice in these 4 years itself, right? So don't depend on college. You can criticize college to whatever extent, but learn yourself. I think that's the second advice I would like to give.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. This has been a pleasure, especially being the alumni of the college. And
thank you, Pranav, and I really thank you and Collegedunia for this interview, and it has been a pleasure.